Hi, welcome to today's episode of Three People Who Inspired Me. This is the segment where I like to share three things about three people who've inspired me in the last 24 hours. It's a practice that I'm practicing. I'm Angel, by the way, ZGALA, the art angel. You can call me Auntie Angel if you like. And my intention here is to hopefully inspire you to be more authentic, more inspired, more enthusiastic, more playful in this life. And this practice of appreciating the things and people that inspire me is one of the many tools that I use to help cultivate more of that in my own life. And let's get right to it. Today's trio is our Monte, our new bass player in the garage band I sing in. I don't know his last name and it doesn't matter. My friend Andre, whose last name I won't share, for reasons. And Kasia Urbaniac, whose last name I'm sharing because it's difficult to say, and also because she's a public figure of some sort, has a TED Talk and a popular book, and so I feel like it's appropriate to share her full name. Let's get into it. Kasia Urbaniac has inspired me before, and perhaps I will talk more in depth about the myriad of ways she's inspired me over the last year or two. But today I just participated in a 3-hour webinar that she was hosting, and she freshly inspired me by holding space for probably over 500 women. I think it was pretty much all women or people who identify as women. And she was encouraging us to pay more attention to our energetic bodies. And she said lots of delightful, great things that I'm still processing. But the thing that really inspired me that I want to share with you right now was about how different men and women are, and how women are, I believe she said, like, women are the book. So, or women are the secret. And I've had this thought before, but in different words. And so I really am feeling inspired by her sharing that. So there's all these practices like Tantra and yoga and Tai Chi, many of which, in fact, all of those that I have dabbled in, and many others. But ultimately, I think her point about women being the carriers of the creative potential of humanity, which are my words, not hers, but I think that's such a beautiful, inspiring point as a woman myself, but also to all humans, men and women, to realize that the feminine has this infinite potential, this capacity to hold space for the unformed, for the unborn, in all of us. Of course, there's the physical way that our wombs hold that space, but there's this broader metaphysical way that the broader feminine, and I'm not trying to take that away from the individual females, but I'm trying to make the point that it is bigger than that, broader than that. So that is one way that she inspired me. Was that one way? She inspired me. Let's break it down to the 3 ways that Kasia Urbaniac inspired me in the last 24 hours. One was holding this safe space for more than 500 women to explore this topic. And 2 was her words about the feminine, females being the book, so to speak, not needing so much to study the book because we are the book. We are creation in process. And I think I want to put a pinky finger asterisk to say that all humans, men and women, embody the feminine and the masculine to some extent. So I'm not trying to take that creative capacity away from the men that I know and don't know, the men in this world, you men who might be out there in the audience. But I do also think, at the same time that I think that's true, I also think that there are some real, like the obvious physical differences in our anatomy translate also into energetic differences between men and women. And I probably, hopefully, will always be exploring that in this life, but I'm relatively new to it. I didn't really start thinking about these things in concrete terms until probably 20 years ago, and there's been many layers. Like the onion, you peel back, it's become more and more concentrated, more and more coherent and clear as I continue to explore that. So Kasia really gave me some clarity, some more words to explore that with. That was number 2. Number 3 is just her beauty. She does this great demonstration of what it's like to be an authentic, beautiful, vibrant female that I find very inspiring. And she left us with an exercise, which was to act as if everything is flirting with us. And it's a practice I look forward to stepping into more. It's not something that I do consciously yet, or very often consciously yet, but I really am inspired by her invitation to play with that idea. So there's 3 things about Kasia that inspired me in the last 24 hours, actually just in the last 3 hours. And let's get into my friend Andre, who shared some artwork with me, some sensual artwork that he worked on in the last year or 2, maybe even longer ago, and hadn't shared with anyone else. And he got brave, got bold, shared it with me after many conversations that we've had about exploring sensual art together, or separately, and sharing that. And he really inspired me to dive more into my own erotic art arena, which I've dabbled in a little bit, but he also inspired me just as a human being who was practicing that boldness, because I know from our interactions that it was not easy for him, that he had a lot of trepidation. Understandably, it's hard sometimes to share personal things about ourselves, whether it's physical or mental or emotional, that make us feel vulnerable. And so I was very inspired, am still very inspired by his boldness and by his artwork itself and its sensual quality, which inspired me to dive more into that. And number 3 way that he inspired me, I think, is in his capacity to share what he sees in me. A lot of times we share with each other without taking the time to express what we see in another, or ask questions, or dive a little deeper. And he's done a really remarkable job of reading some of my blog posts and then asking me questions with a genuine curiosity about it, not projecting his own. I mean, we all project to some extent or another, I think, but he's done an inspiring job of just being curious and non-judgmental, and taking the time to ask me some questions about some of the things that I've expressed that sparked curiosity in him, rather than jumping to conclusions about what I meant or what I mean or where something is coming from. And I think that's a great thing for us all to remember and practice more. And I was inspired by him doing that with me in the last 24 hours. And last but not least, our new bass player, Monte, who, as I was thinking of this list for today, just popped in my head. And I don't know him very well. I've just played music with him a couple times now. We have a garage band practice usually on Saturday nights, and that was last night. for me. And this guy came, for one, he didn't know us and just came through another band member. He knows he knows our new guitar player who invited him. But he comes to play bass, and he's really fantastic musician, but he hasn't played much bass. And he has enthusiastically stepped into doing his best to be our bass player and being willing to take instruction from other people in the band, being willing to just sort of fumble his way through sometimes, and for better and worse, like, he's certainly not perfect yet. I mean, who is perfect? But he's still learning some of the things, but he has really jumped into learning without hesitation, without trepidation, and I find that very inspiring. I find boldness in humans inspiring in many ways, many times, many days. I look for that every day, in fact. And Monte certainly stepped into that. His willingness to be perfectly imperfect and do his best was inspiring. He's also got an enthusiasm that inspires me. And again, you might start to see a common theme. Enthusiasm in humans is something I find enthusiasm inspiring in other creatures as well, not just humans. But I have a special affinity for humans since I am one of us. So his enthusiasm, his perfect imperfection, and his willingness to share that with us, a group of people that he doesn't know that well, under the broader umbrella of us being musicians together. I find those three traits, those three practices very inspiring. So again, to wrap up, that was Monte, our new bass player, Andre, my friend and fellow artist, and Kasia Urbaniac, a fellow teacher and also a mentor of a sort to me, as I look up to her in many ways. So those are three things about three people who've inspired me in the last 24 hours. What's inspiring you? I would love to know. I think if we all shared more of that, it might up-level all of the inspiration in the world, and that's something I'm all for. So let's hear it. Drop your comments. Let me know what's inspiring you lately, or what's inspired you broadly, what's inspired you in a tiny way. It doesn't have to be a big thing, doesn't have to be a small thing. It could be anything that you want to share. And I thank you for stopping by. I thank you for being you. Hope you're being your authentic self and loving yourself, because you're worthy of your own love. I thank you for letting me be me. And I thank you for liking and subscribing. And till next time, I'll be seeing you. Ciao for now.